Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bibbidi Bobbidi Books. My name is Ellie and today we are going to be talking about my shelf of shame. So if you are anything like me, you might have a stack of books that you've just been putting off picking up for one reason or another that kind of fills you with guilt every time you walk past them. So today I thought it'd be really fun to kind of shine a light on some of the books that have been on my TBR for the longest time to try and encourage me to actually finally go ahead and read some of these books because I'm sure they are fantastic. So a lot of these books were actually given to me by my mum, which just makes me feel extra guilty every time I see them because I just know that she would love me to read them and I just haven't picked them up yet. But my mum actually reads quite a lot of historical fiction and that's a genre that I don't tend to typically gravitate towards, so I think that's part of the reason why I haven't perhaps picked up some of these books. So I would really love to know if you've read any of these books or if you think that I would really enjoy any of these books, because I do want to give them a go at some point, but I just need that little bit of a push, that little bit of inspiration to actually go ahead and try them out. So without further ado, I am just going to talk you through some of the books that have been hiding on my shelf of shame that I will hopefully get to at some point in my life. Okay, so the first book that I have to show you is one that my mum gave me. She really enjoyed this book and passed it on to me because she thought that I would enjoy it too, and that is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amor Towles. So this, I believe, is a historical fiction novel, and all I really know about this story is that we follow our main character, who is a Russian aristocrat, and he actually ends up being put on house arrest and he is kept within the Grand Metropole Hotel for 30 years. And it's set during the chaotic birth of communist Russia, and I believe that our main character is basically watching all of the political changes unfold from the confines of this luxury hotel. That is all I really know about this book. I believe it's kind of a character study really about our main character. Apparently it's really beautifully written, and yeah, I'll be interested to know whether you've read this one and whether you think that I should pick it up. I don't know why, but for some reason I feel strangely intimidated by this book. I don't know if it's the cover or the fact that it's talking about an area of history that I don't know anything about, but yeah, it's supposed to be really fantastic. So yeah, let me know if you read this one. The next book that I wanted to share with you is another one that my mum gave me that she really enjoyed, and that is We Are All Completely Beside Ourselves, and it's written by Karen Joy Fowler. So this again is a book that I don't know a huge amount about, but I believe they got really good reviews when it was actually published. It says on the front here that it's hilarious and heartbreaking. It says it's got one of the best twists in years, and it also says that it is irresistible. So yeah, I mean, it sounds fantastic. All I know about this story is that we follow the Cooks, who are a dysfunctional family as far as I'm aware, and it's told from the perspective of the youngest of 3 siblings, who is a girl called Rosemary, and that's all I really know, to be honest. When I was researching this book for this video, I came across a few comments saying that it's better to go into this one without knowing too much, so I don't want to spoil it for myself, so I didn't do much more research than that. I hopefully will get to this at some point because I know that my mum really enjoyed it, so there's that one. The next book that I have to show you is Random Acts of Heroic Love by Danny Scheinman. So this is a book all about love, as the title suggests. It's got such a gorgeous cover in my opinion. It's kind of hauntingly beautiful. But yeah, as I said, this is a book all about love, and it's told from 2 different timelines. We've got 2 different perspectives in here. It says on the back, 2 tales of love, 2 stories of loss, 1 great emotional journey. So the first timeline is back in 1917, and we follow a man during his time in the Great War, and I believe he was actually torn away from the woman that he loves during the war. He spent a time in a prison camp and eventually broke free, and he ended up having to trek thousands of miles across Russia and across Europe to try and get back to the woman that he loves. And the second timeline is in 1992, and we follow a man who wakes up in hospital somewhere in South America to find out that his girlfriend has actually died in some kind of tragic accident, and so he's having to deal with the loss of his girlfriend. So yeah, there's quite a lot of heavy topics in this book by the sounds of things, and I think for that reason I haven't wanted to pick this one up because I've just felt a little bit intimidated by that. I feel like you have to be in the right mood to read about some of these heavier topics. books. So yeah, I think that's part of the reason why I've been putting off reading this beautiful book, but I've heard that it's incredibly wonderful in the way that it's written, and it's also very touching and heartfelt, and a lot of people really love this one. So yeah, let me know if you've read this one. I will hopefully be picking it up at some point when I'm in the mood for something. I am a big crier, so I will probably be an emotional wreck reading this one, but yeah, I'm excited to try it when I'm in the mood. The next book that I have to show you is actually a non-fiction book, and that is Do No Harm by Henry Marsh. So this is actually his autobiography. It's the autobiography of the famous brain surgeon Henry Marsh, and essentially this is his memoir. It's him talking about his career as a brain surgeon, and I believe it's presented as a series of cases from his surgical logbook, and each case is focusing on a different pathological diagnosis and also has a different kind of life lesson that he learnt from working on that case. Yeah, I think this sounds really fascinating. I know a lot of people really enjoy this book. It's a really great look into kind of working in modern medicine and modern healthcare and all of the ups and downs of working in such a stressful job and having to make all of those really difficult clinical decisions. It says on the back here that it's full of humanity. It's a wonderful book, passionate and frank. It says Do No Harm offers an unforgettable insight into the highs and lows of a life dedicated to operating on the human brain in all its exquisite complexity. With astonishing candour and compassion, Henry Marsh reveals the exhilarating drama of surgery, the chaos and confusion of a busy modern hospital, and above all, the need for hope when faced with life's most agonising decisions. Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fascinating book. The next book that I have to show you is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. So this book basically does what it says on the tin. It's a rendition of the Norse gods from their origin through to their upheaval at Ragnarok. And yeah, for some reason I haven't picked this one up recently. I bought this when it first came out because I do quite like Neil Gaiman's other books, and Norse mythology is something that I don't know a huge amount about, but I would love to learn more of. There's something fascinating about mythology in general and Norse mythology in particular that just really intrigues me, but for some reason I just haven't picked this one up yet. I don't know why. I've just found it a little bit intimidating. Not sure, but it says on the front here that it's powerful and that it's gripping, and it also says on here that Gaiman assumes the role of fireside bard, inviting us to sit close on a chilly winter's night and chuckle and wander along with him. That sounds fantastic. Maybe this will be a good one to pick up in the winter. Who knows, but yeah, there's that one. The next stack of books that I want to talk to you about is actually this whole series. So this is the Mortal Instruments series by Cassandra Clare. It starts with the first book, City of Bones, which I believe was published way back in 2007. This is a series that I have not gotten to. It's very old. It's one of those series that a lot of people read back in the day and really enjoyed. And I actually found all of these books in the charity shop a while ago, and they were so cheap that I just thought, oh well, I'll just buy them all, because this could be one of those series that would make a really good sort of binge moment, if you know what I mean. So I was kind of saving them for a time when I could sit down and just kind of devour them one after another, but I just haven't found the right moment to sit down and actually do that. All I know about this series is that it's a fantasy series, and it's a urban fantasy, so I think it's set in New York. Yeah, so it says on the back here, Clary Frey is seeing things, vampires in Brooklyn and werewolves in Manhattan. Irresistibly drawn towards a group of sexy demon hunters, Clary encounters the dark side of New York City and the dangers of forbidden love. I mean, that just sounds like the angsty YA that I love sometimes. Yeah, let me know if you've read this one. Cassandra Clare is actually an author that I've heard quite a lot about. I know a lot of people like her more recent series. I forget what that's called, but I know that one's very popular, so I'd be really interested to see what her writing is like. Yeah, so we have this fun series that I'm super behind the times with, but hopefully we'll pick up at some point. Okay, and the final two books on my shelf of shame that I wanted to talk to you about today are actually ones that I have DNF'd for one reason or another. The first one I actually DNF'd on purpose. This is The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. fabulous. So I actually read the first book a while ago, and it's actually one of my favorite books that I've read in the last couple of years. I really enjoyed it. Started reading the second book and was really enjoying it, but I just deliberately kind of put it down because I know that the third book isn't going to be coming out anytime soon. We've been waiting for the third and final book for years now, and I just didn't want to get to the end of this second book and then not have anywhere to go on from there. And I also want to kind of reread the first two books when the third book is finally released so that I can fully enjoy it. So yeah, I'm kind of saving this one, and also the little novella that comes after this one as well. What's that called? I think it's called Silent Things. I'm sure you've probably heard of this fantasy series before, but if for whatever reason you haven't, this is an adult fantasy series. The first book is called The Name of the Wind, and in that book we follow our main character Kvoth, and it's basically him telling his story to a chronicler. So it's all his own narration. He is literally telling his story, starting from when he was a young boy through to him being kind of a young to mid teenager, I think, in the first book. And it's kind of all of the things that happen to him that shape him to become the person that he is today. He goes through an awful lot in the first book, and I just really enjoy the world. I like the fact that it's Kvoth telling his own story, because you certainly get the idea that he is embellishing parts and he's deliberately missing some things out to make himself perhaps look better. Really enjoyed the magic system in there. You've also got like a magic university type situation, which is always really fun to read about. And yeah, so I really enjoyed this series, but have been putting off reading this second book. And the final book that has been hiding on my shelf of shame is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. Oh, now this is a book that I actually picked up last October, and I did end up DNFing this one. Oh, horror is a genre that I really want to get into. It's something that I've kind of only started dabbling in, and when I was sort of researching horror and thinking about where to start, I thought it would be a great idea to start with Stephen King, because obviously he has been hugely influential in the horror genre. He's written so many well-loved horror books, and so I decided to pick up Salem's Lot because it's one of his earlier works, and I was never really drawn to Carrie, which is the first book that he published. I don't know, there's something about that story that just doesn't really excite me, whereas this one is well known as his vampire book, and I do like a vampire story, so I thought this would be a really fun place to start. But unfortunately this one just wasn't for me. I gave it a really good go. I actually got really far through. I've still got the actual little thing that I was using as a bookmark in here, so I actually made it all the way up to 448 pages, and I still had to DNF it. I just found this one really slow paced. I think part of the problem was because I already knew that this was his vampire story, so the element of surprise was kind of gone for me. I was just kind of waiting to get to the vampire stuff, and so I wasn't that interested in hearing about all the small town dynamics and, you know, following our main character on his journey trying to piece together what's going on, because I already knew that this was a vampire story. So I think that was part of the reason why I didn't enjoy this. I also just don't love small town dynamics, and this book has so many characters in it. Like, Stephen King literally spends the whole first 200 pages or something ridiculous going around every single person that lives in this small town and telling us about them, and there was just so many characters to get my head around, and yeah, it just didn't work for me. I'm really sorry, because I know a lot of people love this book. So yeah, it wasn't for me, and it has kind of put me off reading Stephen King a little bit, if I'm being honest. But I don't want to completely rule him out as an author, because he's written so many books, and I'm sure there are some books there that will work for me. So please let me know what Stephen King book you think that I should pick up next. I've heard some really great things about Pet Sematary, so I'm kind of intrigued by that one. I might give that one a go. Obviously The Shining is a really well-known horror story. I like the movie, but I'm kind of put off by the book because I hear that is also very slow paced, so I'm a little bit intimidated by that one. Misery, on the other hand, I think is quite short, so I'm thinking maybe that one could be a good one to try. I don't know, let me know your thoughts. Anyway, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. This was actually really fun for me to film, and it has actually inspired me to try out some of these ones, kind of looking at the synopsises and things and reminding myself of the story. I am now a little bit more excited to finally try and get around to them. Please let me know in the comments which one you think that I should prioritize and which one you think that I should pick up first. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, whatever it is that you're doing, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time with another video. Bye!